welcome back to Pass and Move. For today's episode in the Lively Liverpool series, we've got the very last game of the season here with Manchester City. Now I know, unfortunately for those who have been following, that does mean we aren't in the FA Cup, and we can talk more about that in just a second, but I'm sure you've noticed the result here in the top right corner. Anyways, since it's the last episode of the season, that means we'll be talking, well, obviously showing you the game, at the same time also talking about just how the season went on and how the players performed and all that sort of business. So just having a quick look at the league table, you can tell that we've been qualified for the Champions League. We're the three teams out of the fourth: Chelsea, Tottenham, Bournemouth, Arsenal, all really within a shout. So it'll be interesting to see how these teams perform. But more interestingly, we can actually help one of our rivals win the title. So Manchester United and Manchester City are the ones who are in it. Unfortunately for us, we're mathematically out of the equation. We do face City today, so it's going to be a very interesting game. I'd never like to lose a game, but obviously if winning it means helping out our rivals, that's not too pleasing either. So we do have to hope we win against City and United lose themselves as well. But either way, we'll see how the game goes. We're on 80 points, which I think is a really good collection. And unfortunately for us, United and City have just done better than us. One too many losses, like I mentioned in the last episode. But I think 80 points is very respectable, and in some seasons might have won you the title. Unfortunately for this season, it just doesn't do that. So we scored 78 goals, conceded 39. Actually, a huge amount of goals in comparison to these other teams here amongst us. But yeah, we do have a decent goal difference. Points are always good, and let's see how today's game goes on. But in terms of what happened since the last episode, we showed you the one against Chelsea, I think. 4-0 defeat. Doesn't get any worse than that. Probably didn't help our goal difference either. Managed to beat Watford 4-2 away from home though, so that was a nice little result, nice way to bounce back. Oxlade-Chamberlain, Firmino, Marco and Mane all on the score sheet there. Richarlison was one who scored right after Chamberlain, just to sort of scare us a little bit, I suppose. And Doucouré managed to get sent off in the 19th minute. We didn't manage to score until after half-time, so it took some time. James McLean tried to give his team a little bit of hope there towards the end as well. West Brom 2-1 win with Mane on with a brace. Klein getting sent off for us this time, and James Morrison scoring in the 85th minute to really worry our players, I suppose. We managed to hold on and get all 3 points. Stoke though was as disappointing as it comes. 1-1 in extra time as well. Robertson scoring for ourselves, Berahino for Stoke in the 46th minute. A ridiculous goal to concede in truth, and then Stoke were very happy to hold on and play as defensively as possible to get the penalties, and they did, and they managed to win it and score every single one of their penalties. And I think for ourselves, everyone managed to miss it other than one player. I'm not actually sure who it was, but either way, as you can just tell from this side here, our defenders and midfielders really stood up for the game. It's just our attacking midfielders, Lallana, Mane, Sturridge, all disappointing. Coutinho and Firmino coming off the bench and hardly having a say on the game. And that kind of just tells the story as it is. We couldn't do enough away from home at Wembley, and very disappointing because we could have gotten to the final. The only good news about it, or what makes me feel better, is that Southampton made it to the final as well, which means that Chelsea lost in the same way that we did. So, credit to these two teams to making it to the final. But would have been really good to have ended our season with a FA Cup, a League Cup, and a Champions League spot. But anyways, Manchester City is everything that we're going to be focusing on. But having said that, we just need to quickly go through the last result, which is a Mane double away from home at Newcastle. That helped us get all 3 points there to set us up in heading into today's game in quite a decent form. So in terms of tactics, I'm thinking about making some tactical tweaks. I think we'll talk more about these type of things in after the episode, but I feel like we'll just show you the game, carry on with how we've been playing all season, and I can talk about what I liked from our tactic and what I didn't like. So I think we can go ahead and kick off. The only one real injury to Nathaniel Klein, out for 1 to 5 days with an pulled abdominal muscle, and probably doing too many sit-ups, I suppose. But either way, we've got Alex Vidal to fill in for him today, and we'll be interested to see whether we, what we do in terms of this title race. We might not be a part of it directly, but Manchester United face Newcastle in 8th place and probably fighting for Europa League spots as well. So I think we can just go ahead and kick off. Emre Can apparently unfit, I suppose, and We'll be also talking about our transfer plans, what we think we're going to be doing, because obviously the next episode that we'll be showing you is actually going to be the start of next season, the very first game of next season. We'll obviously cover what transfers happened, but you know, we can try and tell you what we predict and whatnot. Anyways, 4-3-3, very standard for Manchester City. They're a very dangerous side, of course, and will do well to perform well against them. A very strong starting 11 here as well. They're not messing about with this title. And I think ourselves playing a 4-2-3-1 is quite telling against a 4-3-3. We always struggle because of the way our tactic works, of course. We've got Simon in goal, Matip and Barter in the central defence, Vidal and Robertson flanked, Chan, Henderson, Marco, Mane, Sturridge and Oxlade-Chamberlain complete our front four as well. So, nothing really to play for, but I guess there is revenge. So we'll go with that team talk and just try and secure 3 points, because we do want to send off the fans with a nice little win here, away, especially because they're the away fans. We'll kick off, quickly make some changes. We just need to show replays, make sure that's set, goals. City get us kicked off apparently, and I just need to quickly play Chamberlain as a winger since that's his most comfortable role. Alright, so 3 points on the table. For City it's a title. And we'll see how the 4-2-3-1 goes, but I'm really not confident playing against the 4-3-3. It just never works for me, so I think we will switch up to the 4-4-1-1 at the earliest opportunity. But if we happen to be outplaying Manchester City, then might as well leave it as is. I just want to see how we'll perform. So Henderson on the ball, 5 minutes with a set piece. Marco rises and he scores, and that's 1-0 already. And City are in some serious danger ahead in front of their own fans. So I've just realised, how do you show it again? Was it this? Is it this? It's this, isn't it? Let's have a look at league table. I do want to put on later scores, but I think we'll be able to tell just about here. I don't want to clog up this area, so I'll just leave the league table there. And as you can see, United, I think, are already winning their game. And I guess we're helping out our rivals as much as possible. Marco just completely left for the header, and I'm just impressed that he actually tucked it away, because I feel like a lot of players don't know how to header in the FM18, really, to be fair. Even players who do have good heading stats just don't seem to be able to finish off chances. I play with complete forwards quite frequently in my tactics, and more often than not, even though they have got really good heading, a great powerful leap and all that sort of business finishing, they've got everything that you'd think they'd need. They still manage to struggle and not score the headed goals. So City are on attack. Sterling has a chance to finish the chance and he doesn't. And as you can see from the league table, City, even though they're losing, United are losing as well, and not helping themselves, because what's going on here? Why is our attacking midfielder on support? That's a bit unusual. Winger. I did make a tiny sorry about that, guys, a bit of a technical issue, but yeah, like I was saying, just one small tactical tweak, which is I took off the pass into space instruction. I feel like I know it doesn't actually contradict the shorter passing instruction, but it kind of does affect each other a little bit, and so that's the only real change I've made. But yeah, we'll just change Chamberlain to winger, Marco on attack, and I think a 4-4-1-1 would do us a bit better, so we can hopefully take advantage of these little wide gaps in the flanks, and hopefully punish City by making sure we take advantage of those areas. But yeah, I think, City are definitely dominating the games in terms of the shots, but I think switching to a 4-4-1-1 has sort of stopped that a little bit. And that will hopefully help us going forward, because we haven't had a single shot more than since the goal. City though with a set piece, Vidal clears it, but only to Sterling. And what can the Englishman do from distance? Very close, thankfully fizzes past the post. We'll have to do better there. I think even with a 4-4-1-1 we're not doing too good. So I do want to maybe try a 4-2-3-1 with 2 DMs. That might help us a bit, because I'm not a fan of this at all. Okay, pleased with how things are going since we're winning. We can definitely see an improvement in performances, particularly with Sturridge on a 6.3, not performing well at all. And here's our striker, and here's the man who we look towards in terms of goals and of course build-up player, especially as a complete forward on support. I think I made another little tactical tweak that I forgot to mention. We moved the ball-playing defender out wide to the left, well not out wide, but to the left, and moved the central defender to the right instead. I feel like it just makes a bit more sense than having two playmakers on the same side of the pitch, so to speak. Obviously a ball-playing defender isn't the same as a deep-line playmaker, but they both play risky passes, both play same type of football, I suppose. Having said that, Barter doesn't find Vidal, and that's as poor as it comes. Matip cleans up the mess though, and it's back to Vidal, to Henderson, to Chamberlain. It's a bit good of movement. Chamberlain though loses out to City, and Aguero can try and, well, he does set Sterling free, and the Englishman almost scored. And thankfully my players react quicker than City's, and we survived there at the moment, but I am not enjoying this whatsoever. I'm tempted to go into attacking, but we're winning already, so I don't know what to do, or whether to just switch up the tactic entirely, because at the moment this is not pleasing to see. Silva, highlights not over, City are still coming. Henderson on the ball though now, and Marco can try and set us on the counter. Very poor passing, and thankfully Robertson can pick up the pieces. Barter to Henderson. And this highlight is not going anywhere, so maybe we'll grab a second. Henderson to Marco. What can the attacking midfielder do this time? Back to Chan. Playing it relatively safe. Mane on the ball though again. And tries to put Sturridge through, but Stones gives it to De Bruyne, and City are on the way again. This does not look good for us at all. Aguero sets Mertens through. Can he finish for City? No, he cannot. And thankfully he doesn't. We're surviving barely. Alright. I think there are a few things I do want to change. So let's go to normal, balanced. Nope, none of that, none of that. None of that. None of that either. I think I'm happy with this. Be more expressive, not so much. Roam from positions, maybe just keep. And I think I'd rather that. I know the intensity go down, familiarity goes down, but we'll still stick with the 4-2-3-1. Both our defensive midfielders or central midfielders earlier are on yellow cards, so it's a bit of a worry, and Vidal's on a yellow as well. But these players are the ones that are supposed to be putting in the tackles. So, hoping to see a few more shots on target. Possession's gone City's favour, and how they're not winning this game is beyond me. But we definitely need some changes. So, Sturridge off for Firmino, Coutinho off, on for Mane. Accidentally brought on Lallana. And we'll save the last substitution for later. But we do need to step it up, and hopefully Robertson helps us here. What can he do? Marco on the ball from attacking midfielder though, playing out wide. He loses it, and Sterling can try and get City on the counter-attack. No one really pressing him. Aguero comes out wide for the ball. He's by himself though, and he's going to wait for the players to come forward. De Bruyne to Silva, and that partnership there is as deadly as ever. Silva though, thankfully it's a poor ball, and Vidal can clean up, and Chamberlain tries to set Marco out on the way. Our passing has been poor as the stat says, but that's a really good one through to Firmino. He tries to go all the way. Can he finish? Oh, he tries to square it instead, as unselfish as it comes. But now we are lacking in defence, and City are going to try and hit us on the counter, which is really the only way they're going to score against us. And there you go, Sterling. Poor goalkeeping, if you ask me. He comes out for it, doesn't really come back in for it. A bit of a mess, and all comes down to us. But City will possibly need more than a draw if they want to finish the league, finish the season with a league title to their name. But just, I mean, yeah, this explains it all. I think I'm going to do cancel pending changes. I'm going to go back to 4. I think I will stick with a 4-4-1-1. Let's do what we did earlier. And I think instead I'm going to go on to attack. Because I feel like we were okay on the 4-4-1-1. We had a bit of a solidity to our game, but not really anything going forward. So maybe going on to attack can help us a bit more. And hopefully the substitutions as well. Firmino looked quite decent there for a second, almost through. Just a bit unselfish, but let's see what other changes we can make. Chana, no, Jorginho's on the bench though. Let's save the last substitution for later. Actually, Marco, despite scoring, has done nothing since, so maybe Lallana can make an impact off the bench. Alright then. Oh, okay, so we finally moved up from 1 shot to 2, but City are going to start this highlight, and Danilo finds Ilkay Gundogan. Back to Danilo, De Bruyne, and then Danilo again. There's players surrounding City, but can't seem to win the ball, and De Bruyne finds Aguero, who drops deep for it. Silva from out wide. That's a decent shot. Thankfully, it's not enough to punish us. I do want all 3 points here. I'm not convinced that any of our formations is working. It's kind of down to us, I suppose. The players aren't really awake. Possibly, anyways, unless City are just outperforming us because they have a lot to play for. And let's do that. Alright then. Do I go into overload? Is it even necessary? I'll wait till the last 5 and then try to win all 3 points. But I'm not happy with this at all. It's not good. Doesn't matter how much is on stake or is at stake for City. My players should want to win this game, and at the moment they don't want to. But I do, so we'll go into overload and take more risks. Let's see if we can get anything here. 3 shots now, so that's good to see. 4, climbing up a little bit, I suppose. But 3 minutes left in the match, plus of course added time. And City gonna try and catch us out here. Barter cuts it out, but he kind of just almost sets City through. So thankfully Simon's there to clear it, but he doesn't do too good of a job. And Mertens is gonna try and find someone. City are really knocking on our door. Maybe going into overload wasn't a good idea. Barter though clears it. Chan not really trying. Sterling on the ball, and Robertson just hoofs it forward, and that will do for now. Oxlade-Chamberlain trying to set us here. Can he deliver a good cross into the box for Firmino? Are we going to get our second? Will we punish City? And there's your answer. That's as poor as it comes. The first clear-cut chance in our favour. We couldn't capitalise on it, but there's another highlight, and maybe we can do it this time. Coutinho tries to set Firmino through. Not a good ball in truth, and City are on the way with Mertens. Plays a good little through ball to Aguero. Are we going to be punished this time? And couldn't do it that time. And thankfully for City, United are drawing their own game. I'm still trying. Okay, there's 2 more minutes. Tell me we get the winner. That's all that matters. Lallana. Firmino, it wasn't through, but Coutinho is. And he finishes. And tell me that is onside. Right, I guess it's onside, and there you go. Coutinho off the bench scoring a decisive goal. The question is, do City have enough time to try and still equalise this game? United are drawing at the moment, and if they do have less injury time than we have, then their match is already over, and City, regardless of their result, have won the Premier League title. We've come very close, 7 points, or 4 actually, sorry, and I think we can be proud of the season we've had. City just about beating United by a single point with that famous rivalry between both teams, as well as of course Pep and Mourinho. I think credit to my players for stepping up towards the end of the game there. They didn't give up. Unfortunately for us, that huge chunk of that game was very poor. Thankfully though, we managed to eventually get a reaction out of our players, and we managed to win the game. But like I mentioned at the start of the episode, we didn't destroy City's hopes, and we didn't help our rival win the league, and at the same time we won our game to close the gap and, well, make the season look a little bit better than it has. This makes me, obviously it makes us wonder if we didn't have that little spell of inconsistency halfway through the season, we might have actually gone on to win it. A bit disappointing the way the season's developed, but I think a League Cup, Champions League football, it's a decent way to build, and hopefully next season we can come back stronger and respond better, and hopefully the players are more adjusted to their tactics. And the difference between ourselves and the Premier League winners, City, is that they had one single win more than us, they had a draw more than us, and 2 less losses. But we have managed to qualify for Champions League and still have Chelsea. It's a bit harsh on Bournemouth, who performed well all season long but fell at the last hurdle. Tottenham and Arsenal are only going to get Europa League football, and it's going to be interesting to see how they respond next season. Swansea and our rivals Everton and Burnley are all being relegated. We can have a quick look at the Championship and see who are the teams coming up. I think that kind of business is not just done yet. How much money do we get for ending in 3rd? That's not too much money. Prize money is not a lot, but TV money is. Alright. Okay, so that's the semi-final still, but let's see who won. Leeds. Ooh. Have all the games been played? Yep, all games have been played. Alright, so we'll have a quick sort of season review. I don't want to really spend too much time on it. We'll have a quick look at the main stats. I'm sure you noticed in the beginning of the episode. Mane is our top goal scorer with 27 goals across all competitions. Fair play to him. Joe Gomez with the highest average rating, which is something I didn't predict. Coutinho and Mohamed Salah, despite their injuries throughout the season, they obviously had bright starts to their seasons, but halfway through they started to pick up injuries. But they still managed to both get 16 assists, which is good to see. Jorginho as a deep line playmaker with a pass completion of 91% is impressive. And most player of the match awards goes to Sadio Mane, who got 9, and that's fair play to him. Been very important for us despite his so-called backup role to Coutinho, and he very much took advantage of Coutinho's chunk of injury there. And Coutinho has done really well to actually still come out on top in terms of assists, despite his injury problems. Wallace with a ton of yellow cards there, but really the ones who got sent off for us is Klein, Moreno and Emre Can, and just once is good to see considering how intense our tactics was. But in terms of the squad performance overall, players who featured the most are Wallace, Milner, Mane, Salah, all featuring for us quite frequently. Players who you wouldn't necessarily consider as our first choice players, but they still did well to perform and get their appearances as well as their good form, of course. In terms of goals, Mane, like we mentioned, was the most, but Salah and Sturridge, Firmino, Lallana and Chamberlain all in the double figures for us. Obviously we'd love to see more goals from our strikers. This isn't too good to see that our winger managed to get more goals than our strikers themselves. Of course, they're playing on a sport role, so you can understand that's not too many goals are going to come out of them, but you do want to see a bit of an increase. Assists, we already talked about going to Salah and Coutinho. Lallana's in second, and it's good to see after he sort of performed poorly after coming back from his injury. He still managed to turn it around to get double figures for both goals and assists. Chamberlain's done quite well as a backup player, or a so-called backup player. Marco's the one who's a bit disappointing considering how he's fit all season round. I know he scored a goal. He did score a goal today. Am I forgetting that quickly? But either way, his stats don't read too well. But he's had a fairly decent season for us. Average rating though, Klein with the best, and that's very fair play to him and very obvious at the same time, because I was very happy with the way Klein performed at that complete wing-back role. I think he was excellent, and whenever he's not playing, we miss him quite a bit. Joe Gomez, though, a huge credit to him. The Wonder Kid has performed incredibly well this season. 20 years of age, he's already managed 3 caps for England, and the reason is because he's such an impressive centre-back. He's second in line according to John, but he's not our most trusted man. Okay, according to Peter, who's supposed to be our best, Wallace and Gomez are apparently the best centre-backs at the club at the moment, and these two are the ones who are supposed to be our backup players, so Matip and Bata have to step it up a bit. Wallace, though, Mane, just about a huge chunk of our squad, actually. Everyone up to about here had a very decent season. Jorginho, though, quite disappointing. Marco, Simon, Emre Can and Loris Karius, especially Loris Karius, having poor seasons. These players here at least had solid seasons, but, unspectacular. And really the ones who are in form, you can consider Klein, Gomez, Wallace, Mane, Alberto Moreno, Chamberlain. These kind of players have performed quite well, so that's good to see. But yeah, in terms of tactics, I kind of showed you what I was trying to build towards. I'm not a huge fan of some of the instructions. Playing with a high line has seriously costed us at times this season. Of course, playing with a lot of width doesn't help either. I'm not a huge fan of preventing the goalkeeper from distributing to the players closest to him, the opposition goalkeeper, because I don't think it does too much in fairness when I watch it during the game itself. Gets stuck in quite often, puts us in a bit of trouble, so I'm not a huge fan of that either. I like to play with a normal line, like my players to make their own decisions. The same goes with tempo. I like them to be able to make their own decision making. If you leave it on normal, it says that they increase it and slow things down when necessary, and the same goes with the line. They push up or play deep according to what is required. So I like my players to be able to make their own decisions in certain positions. Exploiting the flanks has really coincided with our width and tempo issues, where we've been caught out wide quite frequently. Opposition teams have taken advantage of our huge width and huge attacking players, our flank players really pushing up, and so I'm not really a fan of that, and I've got rid of it. Be more expressive. I feel like we already play on a fluid team shape, so there's no real need for it, and of course our players play very creative roles as it is, so there's no need to go a bit excessive. Roam for positions, I'm still considering whether to keep or not, but I am a fan of it in general, and since we have a lot of nice little movement there, then we should be okay without it, but I just want to see how we will perform as is. Run at defense, we'll be keeping it. I'm a huge fan of that. Work ball into the box, I'm not such a huge fan of it. I actually prefer hit early crosses, but we play with inside forwards, complete forwards on support, shadow strikers, and these players tend to take long shots quite frequently, and so I thought maybe working the ball into the box might help us a bit more. And of course, playing out defense seems to make most sense since we already have a ball playing defender and a central defender. I feel like both players do relatively play somewhat short passes, not the ball playing defender, but the central defender definitely does, and the ball playing defender is already capable of playing out of defense, so I'm still considering this instruction and the roam from positions, and we'll just see how it is next season. But I think this is something you can kind of expect, certainly because it decreases the intensity, and that helps us. We had a huge chunk of injuries this season. I'm not a huge fan of that. Kept disrupting our play, kept disrupting our momentum and rhythm, and so maybe getting rid of it will get rid of the injuries that we've suffered frequently, and hopefully we can kick on. Another little tactical tweak I want to make is actually change the attacking midfielder to shadow striker role as soon as possible. Something I want to build towards. They have much better movement, link up play with complete forward is much better, and I'm just a fan of it in general. But overall, the tactics should remain the same in terms of the formations we're using. We'll be alternating with all three, as whenever we see fit, but 4-2-3-1 is the one that we'll generally go with. In terms of players we might be looking to move on, goalkeeping department is something we've talked about all season. Simon's still only considered a good player for most Premier Division sides, and he's supposed to be our first choice, so I don't want to rely on a goalkeeper like that. Loris Karius is a good player with a hint of more potential. I tried to give him a season's worth of games so that he can improve, but he had a huge injury and then couldn't really get much game time after that. And at 24 years of age, it's very unlikely that he'll actually become a leading goalkeeper. He's also on 60k wages, which is a lot of money for a backup, and so I think I will actually move both goalkeepers on and bring in a very top goalkeeper and a backup youngster with potential. In terms of our right back, we've got Trent coming back with Klein, so that department's sorted. The left back department with Robertson and Moreno seems to be okay. I'll have a look at their the potential. Robertson still has a hint more. 24 years of age, though, it's unlikely as well, so I think I'll give him just a single more season worth of faith, but Moreno's definitely not going to improve. He's gotten as good as he can, so I'm thinking about moving him on and getting a top left back in instead. Central midfield already got Henderson, Chan, Jorginho and Milner. Now of all of these players, it's only Milner who's decreased in terms of his ability. He's only okay, so apparently this switches all the time. He was just a good player for most Premier League sides, but now he's the leading one. Chan is now good for some reason. I think Peter's opinion changes quite frequently, worryingly frequently, to be honest. But yeah, central midfield's quite sorted out. I feel like we will be moving on Milner. We already do have a transfer coming in Naby as well, so I don't think I really have to be concerned with bringing in anyone. We've already got a capable player. The question is how we will use him, and it's most likely going to be a deep line playmaker on defend. Transfer we didn't make, of course, it happens once you come into Liverpool. So the flanks are really sorted, to be honest. The front four, we have a bunch of competition like we mentioned at the beginning of the season. The question is who we can hold on to. Mane, Coutinho, Firmino, all looking to move on. And if they do, we'll have a bit better balance, but we also will be lacking a bit of quality, so it's questionable. Hopefully we can hold on to them. Chamberlain is now considered the leading player for most Premier League sides. I'm happy with that, happy with how he's played. He's susceptible to injuries, which is my concern. He's on a ton of money as well, another thing I'm concerned about because he's a backup player. And lastly, he's a winger, which is something we're trying to avoid. If we can retrain him to be an inside forward on the left, that's perfect. He's got the attributes for it. The problem is we've got plenty of players in that position already, so it's a bit of a concern. And yeah, strikers is something I'm a little bit worried about because both Sturridge and Firmino have failed to perform. I think Firmino will be a much better shadow striker. He's certainly got the attributes for it and capable of doing it. Naturally moves into the channels in terms of his player traits as well, so I'm considering playing him there. The only issue is we've got Marco and Coutinho there already, and Lallana, sorry, there already. So it's a bit of a worry. Coutinho's been already a very good inside forward, so I have no concerns about moving him to an attacking midfield position. Sturridge, my only issue with him is his susceptibility to injuries, but for now I think I may consider keeping him on. But having seen his ability drop and the way he's performed this season, it might be a better idea to move him on as soon as possible and make some decent money from him. So a couple of areas that might have a hint of deadwood. They're sort of, well, hinting at it really, that some of these players might need to be moved on, and so we can build a better balance to the squad. But it really depends on what happens in the transfer window. In terms of our money though, we've got a decent amount, 70 million. The finances were about 60 million. They're likely to increase now. You know, because the season's over, we're going to get a ton of money and all that sort of business, but I will have to keep an eye on our finances. I can't possibly spend all the 70 million because that leaves us with 20 million for next season in the balance, and that can likely, well, will likely decrease as the season goes on, of course, quite naturally. So it's just something to keep an eye on. We might not be able to spend everything that we do have. In terms of youngsters to look out for next season, there's a few of them when they do come back. If we have a quick look here, Trent, of course, we already mentioned, has had a really decent season at Stoke, I think. So they've had a decent season. They've beat us a couple of times. He's played 38 games. That's just perfect. An average rating of 7.17. Can't really ask for more, and he's definitely coming into our team next season. Lazar Markovic was a player that we tried to get rid of in the summer. He's gone to City for the season. When he does come back, if no one wants to buy him, we're going to be selling him again. If City doesn't want to buy him, sorry. Solanke though, as a striker, still a championship player. Obviously by the end of the season we'll actually get a clear idea whether he's a Premier League player or not, but Ryan Kent is apparently ready for us at the moment, and so we might have to try and squeeze him in. He's either footed, so we can try and retrain him as an inside forward. My problem with that is that his decision making is poor, and that's obviously very important as a inside forward. Origi, of course, as we all know, is a striker, 23 years of age, has a hint of potential. We could possibly move Sturridge on and have Origi as a backup striker, and of course he'd be a very capable player, complete forward on support. He suits our system. The question is, you know, whether we can actually fit him into our side. Other than that, I don't think there's anyone necessarily ready. We've got a couple of players here we can keep an eye on, but in terms of potential, there's a bunch of players that we really are looking forward to, especially Ben Woodburn, the inside forward. He's capable as a striker as well, but I don't think I want to play him as a complete forward. He doesn't necessarily have the strength for it. As an inside forward, very capable, got a decent amount of pace, crossing, finishing, all that sort of business, and only his long shots need work. He seems to have the most potential out of any of our youngsters. But I think that's it in terms of our season review and the match itself. We'll definitely be back for the first game of the next season, hopefully with a good amount of transfers done. So I think that's all for today's episode. If you did enjoy it, then of course please do hit the like button and subscribe for more daily Football Manager 2018 content. And of course I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section below. And as always guys, once again, thank you all very much for watching.